So, yes, welcome everyone on this session. And thanks, Owen, for all the great insights that you provided right now. Uh, After all these technical details, also a user perspective also matters because I went through that roller coaster ride of migration. So I would be really glad to share this out. So, yes, I'll be sharing the hands-on experience today about all the lessons, gratifying wins, and some moments that my team reaching for a comfort cup of coffee. Okay, so yeah, let's get started. I'll just get you to the agenda for the rest of the call. So basically, I'll be first explaining the background context. It is really important for our users on call to understand what was my challenges and snapshot of data landscape I'm going to work on and everything. So yes, I'll explain that. Then I'll explain the challenges I actually faced with the Snowflake, a little bit detailing about that as well, and why with Apache Doris and what was the key differentiator that I choose. And once this all decision has been made, the main thing that engineering team and the user face is the migration strategy, how I approached the migration strategy in a real world case study. I'll explain that. And and the good part that every managerial and the executive level people are waiting for the performance comparisons and the return on investment, right? So uh, I'll explain that how it increased the performance of my data architecture, right? And finally, I'll just explain some pitfalls and lessons that I learned during migration that can be, very fast track and expedited if it was available on the internet, or maybe, yes. So I'll just share my personal insights, how and what things needs to be taken care while doing the migrations and everything, and then we can go for the QA. Okay, so let's get started. Yes, I mean, we already met Owen and myself, finally, Parth Soni. I am a contributor at Apache Doris, and I also explore open source solutions and contribute to more technologies. The tech is evolving nowadays, so yes, I'm very much curious. And a data whisperer, I'll just roam around the internet and try to get some solutions. I'm also data engineer at Planet. It's a payment domain company, right? Okay, let's get started about the background. So, this is the data architecture, data infrastructure. It is a very high level, not a very detailed much, but my main point here to explain like how what are our use cases, right? So the mainly thing is real-time analytics was the kind of I have like 3 billions of events getting generated by user across the platform. And to see the data volume, it's 1 TB aggregated daily and 10 TB as a raw zone. We have the raw layer, right? So that was one of the our ingestion and input. So my ecosystem evolves like mainly event stream. So I use like Kafka for that. For the routine loads, I use the Kafka directly using Snoop pipes and everything, and we have the Flink as well. After that, we have some transactional DBs. It is on T-SQL, where we capture the CDC data on insert updates and everything. After that, mainly we have like interactive dashboards where we have the business user and data consumers who do some ad hoc queries, and some dashboard has been built for the company insights for investors and everything. We have few more database where we call some APIs and get the data and push it on our uh, Snowflake in Snowflake, right? And we have some other batch files as well from S3, and also yeah, kind of a architecture on high level, right? How I used Snowflake in this architecture was mainly for the data consumers to get the data on very faster manner. That was the ideology behind it. So for mainly for interactive dashboards and ad hoc SQLs. Okay. We have the daily ETL jobs running. So I take care of that as well in the architecture. The main thing where it was I mean, challenging because real-time events are showing latency about 5 to 10 minutes, and I guess that is something I need to tackle. Yes, there are micro batch loadings, but it's not actually real time. Snowflake provides a near real time. Okay, so there you can expect some latency over that, right? And when you see like if there is a concurrency, right? So for example, I have the BI team, right? Who is at the peak hours, there are 50 to 100 users, right? So it will kind of increase in cost and it will be challenging, right? Now let's moving forward. Okay, the main thing that if you work on a some architectures, the main thing is your budgets, right, for the project that is allocated. And nowadays, as since we represent a very MNCs and good IT organizations, these tools are good, but also comes with a cost. That is started to creak, right? First, the cost management. Snowflake provides a pay per credit model. It sounds great because you only pay whatever you use, but right until the usage spike unpredictably. Okay, so data is something, we have the big data. It's going to increase by the time goes. It's not like we are going to decrease on data, right? So does the needs as well. If your company has a good budget, and if you don't have like a much real time need and patch, you are good with the patch loading and you don't want to incur any cost of ownership, yes, Snowflake sounds good. But there are some, in future the requirements are going to change, right? So spinning up the multi-cluster warehouses, that is one of the challenge. That is high concurrency was shockingly expensive. Uh, the performance on scale, then other things like the real time was a stretch, as I mentioned. I have generated a real time graph on my Snowflake credits that I extracted, like what amount of cost I was paying. Mainly, like if you see the expectations, user expectation stays the same, but as the data increases, the cost and latency increases as well. But that is something, it's not purpose of being a uh, good architecture when it comes to like performance and thing, right? And the architecture I explained earlier was a use case of batch and real time altogether, right? So in real time, it was kind of lagging in there, right? Uh, then the other thing is like we have the vendor lock-ins. I feel like there are some organizational contracts that we need to adhere with. They sometimes the legal team don't prefer to go on a like external tools. Sometimes they want the particular data contracts and proprietary formats, right? So these things can be taken by open source tools, hosting in the your own on-premise or maybe on AWS or EC2 machines that you guys are having. Okay. So yes, let's jump forward. So basically, what was the decision criteria and why Apache Doris? Okay, what were the alternative I look after going through it, right? So I conducted a pack off and POCs on ClickHouse and Doris as well. Mainly, I was evaluated on the basis of the cost of ownership, because once you opt the open source tool, it will come with a cost of ownership, but also comes with a lot of good advantages, right? Something you need to bear to get the good outcomes, right? And that's what I'm going to show in near real time about the performance comparisons, right? But yes, that was one of the thing. The other thing was query performance, then operational complexity, uh, and the good thing is community support. I was facing some issues, but then Shirley came out of nowhere as an angel for me, and he introduced to the Apache Doris team, and we started collaborating, and I got all the answers to my questions of the migrations. So yes, but the key differentiation what was like columnar storage, the vector execution, and sub-second queries. It's really good. I went through the Doris architecture deep diving by myself, and I was pretty much impressed with how it has been built on architecture level and how it can take care of the business use cases that I am right now having. Okay. Other thing was the real-time analytics. It is really native and with the high concurrency. Okay, so that was one of the other factor. For the real time, when we heard the word real time, right, the few tech comes in our mind is like Kafka and Flink and the Spark streaming, right? So which open source community, tool will tech stack will help you to integrate with these three real-time tools very effortlessly? And the answer is Apache Doris. We have the three main connectors and support for this. It was really easy to connect with the Flink Kafka. You just need to use the do some configuration and do some connectors and everything, and that's all. Other thing is, if you want to scale uh, on a higher note, you can go with your own storage formats, your user-defined functions. Apache Doris supports everything. So yes, you have your own governance over the this open source technology, right? So that's one thing. I mentioned here the comparison. This is something I built to show mainly the counterparts of mine, how it can be very much beneficial and what exactly the things. So I'll just jump onto the real-time comparison that I did. As I mentioned, it's a near real time because I was expecting a lot of latency. And okay, 5-10 minutes nowadays is something that we can wait. But we can wait if it's not coming with cost. But the thing is, we need to wait and we need to pay the cost for it because of real-time ingestions and everything, right? So yes, extra cost and some latency as well. So it is kind of unacceptable sometimes, right? So when it comes to Apache Doris, we have native, as I mentioned. Then we have low latency analytics. Yes, and finally, yes, there is some cost of ownership, but I believe since the day I migrated to the Apache Doris, there won't be any issue maintaining the EC2 clusters at where I deployed my Doris backend and front ends. Okay, let's get it moving. Okay, so these all talks are mainly of at a high level and a decision about taking the which tool to go with and which technology to go with moving forward, right? But here comes the pain with the engineering team. Okay, it's about the migration strategy. We need to be very clear about how we want to migrate things. Okay, so I'm going to just provide a high level overview because I'm not going to go very deep dive. Otherwise, it's going to be a whole day workshop. But I'll just cover a few main things. So first, mainly how I kicked off the migration uh, strategy was like assessment and planning. Mainly, I did the audits on the query that we existing workload is having, the schema complexity, how much complex can schema can get. I as per my experience, I jumped onto the Apache Doris documentation. I verified all the data types and what can be the equivalent schema that I should migrate and everything. You need to do your own research on that. Once you go through it, it's something like you have whole picture in your mind that will help you to take the decisions and go. I mean, carry forward the things with the migrations, right? And the main thing is this stakeholders requirement that I'm already addressing. So that is one thing. Data export and load. How I exported the existing Snowflake data that I'm having in Snowflake and how I loaded in the Apache Doris. So I use the Parquet file formats. I did some exports and loaded into there. I did some testing with my QAs and the auditing part as well. If we have some mismatch in data or data is missing something, some errors or something like that. Once we have the existing data migration, the main thing comes that is ETL migration, right? As I mentioned, I have like Kafka Flink. So I use the Kafka Doris connector for the routine loads. But if for the complex ETL workflows, I use the Flink and the Flink Doris connector as well, right? After that, mainly main thing comes is the query conversions. You have your return stored procedures in the dialect that Snowflake supports, but I need to go through all those syntax and everything to get it converted to the Doris as well. So that was one of the check that I outlined here. And finally, the validation and parallel testing. And this is the phase where you can test like what exactly the real time improvement that you have done after months and the sprints of uh, efforts that your engineering team made, right? Okay. A little bit detail about how I divided the phase of the migration process. Okay. The first phase was like a schema and data model transformations. Okay. So I first extracted all the details from Snowflake. then translated the data types to the Doris equivalents. Okay. Uh, so the engineers can't expect by simply migrating the things from Snowflake to Doris will give you the performance like a magic. No, you need to be very specific on your architectural part, and the things can be improved from the engineering team as well. Okay. So that being said, one, like I need to revisit all the partition keys. I need to take care of all the distribution columns. The more, so the key to the performance is in your hand. Doris can provide everything you need, right? But you also need to learn like how you can optimize Doris on a fully level. Okay, so that is one thing. The thing like defining the primary keys, unique keys for better ingestion performance, right? Ingestion also plays a really good role. How I handle this, we have like DPT and Jinja templates. I wrote some Python scripts to do this because currently world is evolving and we have techs, right? No one likes to do manual work. So yes, so does I did the automation part of it for the I ran some workflows and everything. I also use Airflows in some of the data entry iterations, right? Yes, after phase one, the other migration the engineering team was to ETL and ELT pipeline designs. So whatever methodology you are using, extract transform load or extract load transform, it applies to both. Okay. So first one was the batch load. So that was done using Airflow, as I mentioned. So I did the batch insert into Apache Doris, right? Other thing I mentioned was like I extracted the Parquet files, staged it in the S3 bucket, and did some loading on the data in file as well. About the real-time loads, I use the Doris Streamload API. This API is really good. I mean, you need to explore it. You can get a lot of, functions that you are looking after to do some migrations, right, on the ETL part of it, right? And after batch and real-time loads, there are few for fallbacks like micro batches with I handle them with the Spark for heavy backfills as well, right? So yes, this is the how overall migration looks like, and I can say how I can process everything on a very good level. Okay, here we go. This is how the architecture looks like after the post migration. It is mainly, you can simply say, the Doris has been replacing Snowflake totally. My whole there's nothing changing in my whole architecture. It's just like I'm using Doris as my lakehouse analytics tools now as a warehouse. And yeah, uh, eh, talking about the current time, I'm working on using Doris for the log analytics as well. We have a lot of logs, so that is another POC that I'm working right now. But yes, currently Doris is in production. It's working really well, right? And this is the interesting part. Okay. So after the migration, what kind of test I did? Okay, so if I can say performance benchmarks, so the moment of truth, how Doris compares. Okay, so few benchmark tests at the user levels because Owen already explained you how the real benchmarks for performance is there, right? But at the user perspective, with the when you have the real time data and you have the data use cases with you, this will give you the exact performance improvements, right? So the first one was like standard OLAP. That is a very basic test. So I extracted around like 20 million row. The test case was that how it is handling the this much of data, right? So Snowflake used to provide this data in 5 seconds, but Doris started giving it in zero point 0.9 seconds. And if we can approx, it's 1 second. And it's really impressive. If you can see, it's 4.6 times faster. And I was surprised at the moment as well. But I was still curious. Like it's 20 million row. Okay. I have few large tables as well, who is having like 475 million records. Let me do the test on that. I know it will raise the utilization everything on thing, but yes, it will give you the satisfaction that the migration you did was really good, right? So for the large table analytics, the counts of records are 475 millions, right? Snowflake took around 45 to 90 seconds. It's at a good time they take. Still good. I mean, 1.5 minute is good comparing to other things, but the main thing is like how much Doris is taking. It took around 1 to 3 seconds only, and that is something. It's really mind blowing. It's like 15x faster. I'm really surprised by this. That this is my use case that I worked upon. Okay. Then I checked. We have some multi table and ad hoc 20. Joins where I use multiple tables. Yes, Snowflake was taking 8 seconds, while Doris took only 1.5 seconds. It's still faster. The other thing was like concurrency. We have like 100 user dashboards. Again, the same counts, same table, 20 million rows. So average was 1.2 average for Doris, right? It's again a faster than Snowflake. Uh, and the main thing, the micro batch load. Okay. As I mentioned, real time was a one kind of a bottleneck I was facing with Snowflake. It almost took like minutes versus second, as Owen explained in the earlier presentation. So yes, it was like 5 to 10 minute latency. It was showing the data in minutes. As I mentioned, it's near real time, not the real time. But Apache Doris is providing this at native. It's real time enabled. I would say like it's a uh, the latency was next to nothing. It was in seconds. It's less than kind of 1 2 seconds only, but it's acceptable. Uh, and the main thing is over all this test, I already compared the cost that I was paying for the Snowflake, right? So yes, after this much improvement, I was also saying the cost, right? Uh, Now let's jump to the cost part of it. So initially, let me just show you on my presentation. In June, I paid around like 25,000 USD. That's monthly cost, right? Now, if I come directly here on Doris Infra, how I deployed this on the EC2s and all the AWS architecture after every this thing, two things that you need to take care and you need to take the ownership of cost, that is like EC2 and the EBS, right? Uh, and when I calculated on the AWS Cost Explorer, it costed me around like 5,000 USD, something like that. And after comparing it, it's a reduction of the cost by 5 times, if you just can imagine, right? So yes, it comes with a cost of ownership, but it gives me very good set something under my budget. Other thing is like it gives me like a real time advantage that Snowflake was not able to provide me, right? Uh, that I also mentioned. Yeah, and I guess Doris and Snowflake share the same columnar compression, okay, and that's the reason it's a really good storage and everything. Okay, so this is the comparisons and performance benchmark as a user perspective that I made some test scenarios. Okay, this is something which gave me a real pain while which led me to the real time, you know, uh, which led me to some issues, right? While the migration process. The first thing is the schema drift. That's very common. Whenever you do a migration on from other technology to other technology, you need to take care of your schemas. So yes, strict ETL contracts, data mismatch. Sometimes it happens like we missed few of the data types, started migrating, the pipeline started failing. I need to go back and correct that because it was a human error, nothing from the technology side. It was a human error that we missed it. So yes, always need to make sure of the schema drift. How is it? The data skewness. So the performance I was able to reach here after doing a lot of internal research of my own. Initially, I was using like there was a column distribution on the single column, but comparing to table size, it was less, right? But then I upgraded to the multi-column distribution to balance the table sizes and everything, and it was then it increased a very good performance for that. So yeah, you need to take care of data skews, how you can take care of that. Finally, the resource tuning part. So this is something I deployed Doris on the EC2, right? The main thing is like that is very common on when you work with the real time and the things like out of memory errors. It is a nightmare for the developers, out of memory error, right? So that I also got those errors as well. So resource tuning, I need to go through like backend memory limits, JVM head. You need to distribute the memory in a very optimal RPC threads that you need to take care, right? That is one thing. And few the backfills like compactation to avoid out of memory, as I mentioned, right? So these are the few things which gave me a headache to solve. But yes, the results are really nice. That headache was worth going through. So yes, uh, few best practices before I jump onto the conclusion of this. Quick workshop. Discussion we are having. Use the bitmaps and Bloom filters for high cardinality dimensions. If you're migrating your warehouses, right, you can look after this. These are really good. Other thing I can say, uh, define the sensible table row counts. You need to do some architectural on decision on your side as well. 100,000 rows per segment. That is kind of one of the example. Set the replication factor equal to 3 or greater than 3 for high availability. Only after that, if you want to really achieve for the production grade migration and you want to just good results for that, right? And the other thing was leverage the materialized views for common aggregations. I mean, we all know like for analytics, the main key is aggregation, right? And how you need to take care of aggregation using the materialized views, right? So that is one of the thing. And finally, do some monitoring and uh, that's it about the closing notes. What can be, I would say in the end, ask yourself, is your architecture giving you a real-time visibility you need for the cost that you are paying, okay? Or the price that your business can sustain? If not, set aside a couple of sprint. I would say I took only 2 sprint for this. Sprint for an Apache Doris proof of concept on a critical workloads. You may be surprised by the result as I did, because I was surprised as well, to be very honest. Invest in monitoring from day one. It will give you some results as well. Uh, then, yeah, that is it. And the bonus tip, one of the bonus tip I can say, I me with my team member, I made a video on YouTube on how you can deploy the Doris on EC2 machines, okay, and how it was a normal real, a data engineering project that I made, taking the streaming data from Kinesis load and getting it to the data warehouse on Doris and how you can query it, right? So yes, it's a 4 videos set of playlist. You can go through it on YouTube. You can go through each and every step how I deployed on EC2, uh, right? And the main thing is like Doris documentation. It helped me a lot. If you feel any something like that, then yeah, feel free to reach out to the community. There is a Slack channel of Doris. You guys can reach out. You can find Shirley over there. They are really helpful. Yes. So yeah, that's it. Before we jump to the question and answer, thank you, Shirley Owen, giving me the platform to talk and reaching out for the collaboration. It really means a lot. And thank you everyone for joining on this call. If you have any questions, the audience, please reach out to me on my LinkedIn. You can go through my YouTube channel. I have some scripts on GitHub as well. You can email me directly. I'll be here to help you out. So yes, thank you so much. And now we can jump to the Q&A finally.